Joining me right now is California Congressman Darrell Issa, a member of the House Judiciary Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Well, it's good to see you. And if I may, President Trump, in a sense, did the equivalent of 25 plus years ago, Margaret Thatcher saying to George Herbert Walker Bush, "Don't go wobbly, George." I think there's a lot to be said in that previous segment about the president saying to our closest and strongest ally that we want to be close on trade, not just on defense. And it's a lot easier to be close with Britain when they do put money into defense than with Europe, where they're a little too stingy on supporting NATO.
Yeah. So you were comfortable then with the comments?
Well, I'm always comfortable with sending a message that opens a dialogue, and I think that's what the president's very good at, is he's going to have a very candid debate about what it takes for the United States and Britain to get much closer together, including a trade relationship that should be mutually beneficial to two very large trading partners.
Yeah, for sure. Let me switch gears and ask you about the messages coming out of the fireworks on Capitol Hill yesterday, as you were one of the key questioners. Excellent work, Congressman. We watched it, and it was really an incredible hearing. Embattled FBI agent Peter Strzok testifying before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees over his anti-Trump hate text messages. You asked Mr. Strzok to read aloud to the committee his text. Let's take a look.
I'm going to just go to a date and then ask you to read your own words.
Hi, how is Trump other than Trump is a disaster? I have no idea how destabilizing his presidency would be.
Ms. Page said, not ever going to become president, right? Right?
No, he's not. We'll stop it. What the F happened to our country, Lise?
Okay, read it again that way.
Sir, did you not? Was it not
I just
intelligible?
wanted to hear it
You
one
just
more
want to
time.
hear it for me to repeat it?
Please.
Okay, sir. Sure. Happy to indulge you. I can't pull away. What the F happened to our country, Lise?
Happy to indulge you. Congressman, he was so adamant and aggressive, confident. What was your reaction?
Well, I wanted the American people to hear it. He kept thinking that it was somehow for me, and it wasn't. The American people need to understand this person sat in front of us for 10 hours and told us there wasn't a shred of bias. Well, in fact, these words are his words. And by the way, the words of Lisa Page are just as bad. And they were being done on government phones, on government time, as these two had the ability to both help clear Hillary Clinton and to try to indict and/or, one of his words, impeach President Trump. So these are very dangerous situations, one that led to his being relieved, fired, if you will, from the special investigation. And yet he sat there saying he'd never been biased. He didn't see it. It's pretty scary if somebody says that's not bias.
So do you think he can get away with that? That he could actually say, yes, my bias did not affect any decision making in the Russia-Trump collusion investigation?
Well, he can get away with it in the sense that I suspect he'll go off into retirement and probably be a hero of the left. He's not getting away with it with the American people. They heard his words. And by the way, Maria, one of the things we got out of him yesterday that I believe is going to lead to a subpoena is that substantially similar statements he and Lisa Page and others were saying on what he calls his private communications, and yet in his public communications, he's warning her certain things he wants to talk about that are business related on his private IM account. So we're not done with this. As you know, Judicial Watch got some additional information. There's a long way to go to clean up the Department of Justice and the FBI, so people like this are rooted out early on and not allowed to distort justice.
So will you subpoena then his personal devices to see what other texts are on there?
I spoke to both chairmen, and they were both supportive of doing just that, to use the evidence we have to demand the additional information, which, by the way, the Inspector General never saw. One of the strange situations is, once again, just like with Hillary Clinton, they allowed him to decide what was there, and he said there wasn't anything there. That kind of process is amazing to me because, as you know, the FBI doesn't let you do that. They go in and they get it, and then they start asking you questions. But for some reason, the kid gloves treatment seems to happen only with certain people, like Hillary Clinton, like Peter Strzok.
So he was able to decide. They gave him, here is a copy of all your texts. Just tell us what's work-related. Tell us what you want to give to the Inspector General. He was able to decide what text he wanted to give to the Inspector General.
He was able to decide in the case of his business mail, obviously they had it. In the case of his personal, he went through it and said there wasn't anything there, even though yesterday under oath he admitted that there were similar to what you heard him say in his own word, similar texts that he and others had done on his, quote, non-government email.
But it seems like there's a brick wall that the Republicans face because at the end of the day, what you all want to know is what was the intelligence, what was the information that led you to launch an investigation into Donald Trump? I mean, what was it that created this Trump collusion investigation? And he keeps saying, I can't talk about an active investigation. So the special counsel having this active investigation is sort of cover for him not telling you anything in terms of what was the reason for the launch of the investigation.
Well, Maria, what we know now, and what I think the American people know, is that the beginning of this was under a false pretense, and here we are more than a year later, and there hasn't been a single connection, a single fact made public in any way, shape, or form that connects the president or his immediate entourage with any kind of collusion. And if you can't find it before you launch the investigation, you can't find it a year into the investigation, it's probably because it was never there.
Let me ask you this, because one of the questioning from Mark Meadows asked him about John Brennan, asked him about Obama officials, and after a back and forth, he admitted that, yes, I did have conversations with Obama officials. We assumed that would be John Brennan about a Trump-Russia collusion investigation. What's the significance of that?
What's significant is that he's tried to say that he wasn't part of launching this investigation, making it happen, and yet not only that admission, but others where there's an indication that some of the Fusion GPS people he was in contact with, that tells us that, in fact, he has a lot more to do with creating this false narrative that led to this investigation of something that appears not to have happened. So
do you think that we'll see accountability? Will he be prosecuted, in your view, based on what we know today?
I don't see it happening. You know, the Fox used to have that, you know, we report, you decide. To a certain extent, yesterday and anything further with Lisa Page is part of us bringing the American people an honest understanding of what didn't happen leading up to the last election so that it doesn't unfairly distort this next election.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
We appreciate it. Congressman Darrell Issa there.